Did you know Dump City coined the phrase, the grass isn't as green on this side? Hey everyone, Brento here. Welcome back to another episode of Dump City. I'm playing with Elon the Barbarian here. I was having some mana issues before, so just a bit of a tip there if you're running low on mana with your reservations. It's a very popular one. I assume even the pros use this one, so I highly recommend it. And yeah, if you're having mana issues, don't forget to invest in cheaper mana for your spells. What else is going on, you ask? Well, check out the 14 unspent skill points. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. We'll have to figure that out this episode. We're going to have a discussion on fruit flies this week. I think that's an interesting topic, not discussed enough on the internet. But what else has happened this week aside from Elon reaching level 6-7 here? I got an item of the week. What is it? It's these boots. Alberon's Warpath. Check out the skeleton ability. See, when I first found this, I thought skeletons... Well, I could only have one skeleton stay permanently alive with these boots. But looks like I got a bunch of them. I don't know what it means by skeleton warrior versus skeleton, but that's the item of the week because these skeletons can stay alive for a long time. What's the runner-up? I would have to say this new gem we got here, this Infernal Blow of Immolation. That was kind of an unusual drop. I might work with that as I level up a bit here. I've got now two extra points in my ascendancy. I have to work on that. I haven't even allocated them yet. And the other runner-up, you're wondering? I'm going to have to say it was the Mirror of Calandra that I found, and I made this here. So I found this item, and then I mirrored it. See what? But I was reading afterwards, maybe I shouldn't have used the Mirror of Calandra right away. I should have saved it for later. But that's what happens when you mirror something. See, it says mirrored on it? So that would be the second runner-up. So what are we going to do here for the episode? Well, in case you haven't figured it out, we're going to do some Path of Building. Okay? But before we do that, I want to go over a few more basic tips for noobs, like I do in every episode. Tip number 1. When you're doing your defensive calculations here, you'll notice you have an armor and you have physical damage reduction. In case you're at 90% physical damage reduction, you're thinking, how do I get more damage reduction than 90% by putting more armor? There's a cap of 90%, okay? Likewise, your resistances are all capped at 75% unless you get special skills that let you go above cap. And the furthest you can go over is actually 90%. So just keep that in mind. You can't go to 91% physical damage reduction. And if you see items that say physical damage reduction on them, like some chest pieces do, it's basically like the armor effect, except just with the physical damage reduction. You'll have to read into a lot of details on Wiki and whatnot on how all these mechanics work. Bear in mind there are caps to these things. And as we run some simulations on builds here today, I'll break that down. Another thing is chaos resistance minimizes chaos damage, but it goes through your energy shield in case you haven't noticed it. So if you're stacking energy shield, again, I'd highly recommend considering chaos inoculation, because if you don't have enough life and with that energy shield, the chaos damage is going to kind of kill you anyways. I found that the energy shield was a little clunky in terms of the previous characters. My first two characters used it. This time I'm going with an all-life build. I think the all-life builds are a little easier, frankly. Maybe I should have done it in my first season, but the chaos damage goes through your energy shield, so that can be problematic for some, unless you have chaos inoculation, in which case it doesn't do any damage, but then you really are all in on stacking energy shield and not investing anything in life. And another thing with your items, in terms of your gear that you keep, just be sure to get rid of things. Always check, like hit tab and look for the tiers of your rolls. If you have a bunch of low rolls on things, or your items are, at least 10 to 20 levels, say, like if you're having difficulty in some parts, check over your items and make sure that you're getting you know, that you don't have some boots that are 20 levels old. Okay. You'll notice each episode I have, as I'm leveling up, most of my gear is new every episode because I just find better stuff, and now and then I'll craft something for very cheap using basic materials. So that's a few tips for noobs. But for this episode here, what we're primarily interested in is we're going to do some path of building. So if you're not familiar with what path of building is, it's actually a software program you can install. And just a bit of a heads up, this is the last tools episode we're going to do. I'm going to focus more on the game itself in further episodes. So sorry if this gets too techy for you. Okay, I know a lot of people just, I want to play the game, I just want to learn the basics of it. Watch the first few episodes that will sort of break down the basics of the game. But now that we're getting into the higher levels here, level 67 here, you just got to start thinking seriously how you're going to be planning your character at level 80. Path of building right now, I'd say you don't essentially need it to make a good character to get through Act 10, but I thought it would be a good idea for me to present it now so you get basically familiar with the tool, so that once you get to level 80, it's not like you have to figure out how to build your character and figure out how to use this tool. So I'm just going to give you a cursory overview of how Path of Building works. So as mentioned, it's a software program. You can install it. It's basically controlled on GitHub. If you're not sure of the actual source for the official download, always go to GitHub and then see what website it links to. So that, that's how I figured out a safe link. I'll include the link in the description below, so it should be valid for a few years, I'm sure. You install Path of Building, put it in a folder somewhere, and then when you try to run it, if you happen to have Windows Defender, it actually claimed that it was protecting my PC when I tried to install it. Yada, yada, yada. You then can just launch it, and this is what it looks like when you launch it. Okay, so once you get it installed and once it's running, you can then use this tool to basically plan your skills, plan your items, and figure out your passive points. What makes the most damage? What makes you the toughest? And it lets you explore things that you can't necessarily see in the game itself because you kind of only see what you find in the game. But here you can search things and find other things if you want to really ensure you're going to make it to level 95 plus solo self-found. So I think this would be one of the tools. Even when I only made it to level 93 solo self-found, I was still at least basically familiar with this. In my first season, I used this, and again, as with a background as a software engineer, maybe I'm not as scared to use software like this. But I think for the average Joe if you're a numbers person, like if you're an accountant or something like that, you might love this. Okay, this is like your dream app here in terms of building a better character. So once you got it running, you go into this import export build as your first thing. Okay. Then you type in your character name, go to Path of Exile's website and the number, your ID that goes with it, and then hit start. Okay. So it will connect to Path of Exile, get your information. The next thing, it's not quite so obvious, is you click this here, import it, and then import your items and skills. Okay, you got to click both those buttons. And then I would recommend give it a name. Okay, so I've already given mine a name here. So I'm going to save this again. I wasn't doing anything too important, but you'd probably click save as. And then as you work with things, this is your save point. So if you start mucking around with things and you forget what you were testing in the first place or what your character's current state is, you can always go back and load an original save point. You might want to branch a few saves. You try various types of builds. This is how you get started. So the first thing I do is sort of maybe just click on these buttons, just look what they can do. Familiarize yourself with the features of the software. Okay, but once you got it running, I'll give you a typical workflow usage right now. One of the first things you'll want to do is go into configuration. Okay, by default, nothing here will really be checked off. I don't know if you can see the letters too great here. I'm not going to go detailed into what they actually say or do, every single thing here. You can kind of read it and figure out yourself. But long story short is this configuration's kind of like if you have charges on you that do various things like endurance charges, power charges, maybe your got an aura of some type. Maybe you want Holy Relic. Okay, like right here, see there's Summon Holy Relic is one of the things here. When it does the simulation, it won't know to summon the Holy Relic to show you your life regeneration. See, when I click this on and off, see down here, it adjusts this number, my life regeneration. So that's one of the many things that you want to configure, or just kind of go over things just quickly, scan over it once, literally 2 minutes of just scanning. If you don't know what it means, you're like, is the enemy crushed? I don't know what that means, so I'll just leave it unchecked. Basically, as you figure out what different mechanics are, this is the go-to spot, is your configuration to see how it simulates, okay? So just be aware of the existence of the screen. You might want to have most of these unchecked, but I've got like, 5 or 6 checked off now just because my build happens to be needing these things for the simulation to be more accurate. And just a side note too, the simulation isn't going to be perfectly accurate. Like, it doesn't consider every scenario of combat that you could actually be in. So it's just as a rough guide. It's great for A/B testing a bunch of stuff, but it won't be perfectly accurate in terms of the actual damage delivered. Like if you do an AoE attack and it hits 10 different monsters versus the same AoE attack hitting one monster, one of them's doing 10 times the damage overall because of the number of targets. So the number of targets and all other kinds of variables factor into this. So just keep that in mind in terms of accuracy. This isn't a perfect tool, but it's better than nothing at all, and it's better than just guessing by what you see in game, okay? Your skeletons in game, it's hard for you to figure out exactly how much damage they do unless you go into an app like this. So the first thing I would do is just get familiar with the configuration options, even if you don't select anything right off the bat. The next thing I like to do is go into the skills here and just make sure it has all the gems you want. Now, if you're testing items, like you want to test a various weapon or different boots, or you want to swap them out, see how they do, you might want to just leave these static. But quite often you'll have your gear set, and this is where you kind of experiment with different support gems. So if you can, search different ones and put them in here and test how, if they increase or decrease your DPS, or if other benefits are gained. Maybe your life regenerates faster or something when you adjust your gems. But this is basically the next thing I do, is just make sure these are the gems. Like what it does is it has socket groups. So if you have 4 different sockets or 4 different skill gems on your boots, for example, there'll be a socket group. And then from there, you would select, which skill you want to test later. And as you select each one here, it will show you each support gem, making it work the way it works. Here with this Infernal Blow of Immolation here, I have 4 different support gems set up. Not necessarily great ones right now, but this is where you would monkey around with them. So just familiarize with yourself with that. That's going to be a thing late game. You'll be really adjusting that and tuning it. The next thing you want to do is go over your items and be aware of this weapon set 1 or 2. I like to have a weapon set 1 is kind of my DPS setup, and then if I hit the X button in game, I go to 2, and this is kind of my survival. Oh crap, I gotta run. So maybe have a shield in this build here. So I'm kind of focusing on effective hit points with weapon set 2, and weapon set 1 a little bit more focus on DPS. And you can swap different items here. You can search some uniques you might want to find for use in your gear. And that's what I would do here, is kind of tune your best weapons. You can also have other weapons and items selected here and dropped in for experimentation. The next thing you'll want to look at is the tree. See, I got 14 unspent skill points. So this episode, before I fight the Act 8 boss, I'm going to kind of summarize, I'm going to go over all the skills I think are needed to maximize DPS and maximize effective hit points. So in here, like let's say I add this node here. Like right now, if you look here, it shows I don't know if you can see it that well, but it shows 85, 76 effective hit points. So if I click this one here, it goes to 8816. But if I tried something else, like let's say I went this way here. I am thinking of doing this too. This one here has 10% increased life. Okay, so this costs more skill points, but I get it, that's more effective hit points. So that's basically what you do. You want to basically see with the least amount of points, how much damage and how much toughness can you gain with Path of Building with your builds. Okay, you can also load up other builds to see how they are set up. I won't go into advanced tools here. The objective of this episode is just to get you familiar with this tool and know it exists. Okay, you can make a few cursory modifications to your skill tree here, but this is it'll probably be about level 80 before you really take advantage of the tool. There's also a check for updates here, so you don't have to reinstall it later if you find that there's an update when it comes time to really seriously plan your character. So just keep that in mind. And then finally, once you've played around with your tree, your skills, and your items, the last thing to look at is the calcs, okay? So you'll notice here on the left, if I select different skills here, like Sunder of Earthbreaking here, I have a certain amount of damage. You'll notice it doesn't sync with the selection here. I have to select them separately. They're effectively showing the same thing, but this is a summary view of how a skill behaves. And this is a very detailed view in the calcs. So if you want to know, your dodge chance, like all kinds of, just look at how many stats here. I'm not going to read everything out. The font's a little small. You might need to zoom in a little bit on your computer to read some of this stuff if you don't have the best eyesight, but just keep in mind that the left is always your summary view of DPS and effective hit points. And this calcs is a detailed breakdown of that and a bunch of other triggers. So that's kind of the process. And this is what you do. And then once you're done everything, you got everything set up, you just hit save at points where you're comfortable with the layout. That's the basic usage of Path of Building. I'll go into more detail after our little interlude here. We're going to talk about fruit flies. Okay. I know fruit flies are a popular topic. And I've had a fruit fly infestation in my house. I've been dealing with it the past week, and it's been driving me crazy. So what I have is these traps that they're bowls, and I put some cling wrap on the top of them, and I put a banana peel inside them, and the fruit flies go in it. So I'm slowly trapping them, and then I go outside and release them, and they freeze. But whenever I do that, I notice when I peel off the cling wrap, and I take the rotten banana peel, I throw it away. All the fruit flies, it's like they're like, what's going on? They're like, where's my rotten banana peel? And they freak out. And then they die shortly after because it's really cold outside. They're an insane species. Another thing I've noticed too, when I have these banana peels inside the bowl, if there's an opening, like the cling wrap's not perfectly on, I notice that if they see me, and this has happened 4 times in the past week, so this isn't just a one-of. They'll try to get out of the bowl as fast as they can because it's like they know they shouldn't be in there. It's just crazy. But I'm coming up with an idea here. I think I'm going to try this later today to catch lots of fruit flies. Okay, so if you have a dishwasher, try this. Get some orange juice, put it in a glass. Drink the orange juice. Put it in the back of your dishwasher, and then, fill up your dishwasher as normal, but make it sure that the front of the dishwasher just has like a sliver so that the fruit flies can all go in it. So what I'm going to do is once I catch a bunch in there, I'm going to just sneak up to it and shut it and then just, cook them all in the dishwasher. That's kind of my plan. Anyways, that's my discussion on fruit flies. Oh God, some of the topics here. Okay, so let's do some pro tips here on using Path of Building. So one of the things I never actually understood when I first started using this software is that I can actually go into Path of Exile and take items and import them into the game. So this here, you hit Control C with the cursor on top of it like that. Okay, that was called carrion vessel. This is a pro tip for using Path of Building. You can't, as of this recording, you can't actually import items from your stash. So it makes it a little difficult to A/B different items, A/B gems and whatnot. But this little tool here, when you go to items, and then you hit Control-C in the game, and just so you know, you can copy things in the game onto there's other online tools that let you take advantage of this too. But in Path of Building, you paste it like that, Control-V, okay? So, and then I would say add to build. So now it shows up in my list of items here. Okay, so previously, actually, did I grab the cluster jewel from earlier? No, oh no, here I did. So previously that cluster jewel, by the same methodology, if you want to test a cluster jewel in Path of Building, again, this wasn't something I knew how to do the first year. Cluster jewels were just beyond me. So that's how I brought this in. I copy pasted earlier and saved it. Okay. Now, how do you actually test a cluster jewel inside your tree? Okay. Like if you go here, like here, I could go here and here. It's like, how do I put a cluster jewel in there? Okay. You do that in the items section. Okay. So what you do is you allocate the point here first. Okay. Now it's selected. Now I go to items. You see there's a new socket available. Socket number 1. Now that cluster jewel I wanted to test is called carrion cut. So we'll see if we can find it here. And there it is. So we select that. Now we go back to our tree and voila, we have the cluster jewels. So now I go like this, I go like this, like this. Now this has another jewel socket. So I click this, go back to items. And then I want that one we just created that. I got 2 copies of it here. I'll probably get rid of one of them. We add it that way. Same process. You got to go to items, then back to tree, and there it is. Okay, so that's sort of an advanced way to set up, you copy paste items, and this is how you do cluster jewels in your build. Another thing you might want to mess around with as you level up is the resistance penalty. Like this here lets you simulate different boss difficulties. Once you're truly using this, you're going to want to make sure that Act 10 is what you're simulating, because you're effectively creating a fictitious target and it's doing fictitious damage to you in these simulations and the calculations. So you have to consider the average resistances of these things. You can tune these a little bit when, like, if you have a specific boss, let's say it's like near the end of the season, it's one of the final bosses. It's all you got left to do is to kill this boss. You might want to go in and tune the enemy stats a little bit and make sure these things are targeted to be Act 10 at least as you go up. Another pro tip here is check out your max hits. So even though your overall goal is to increase your effective hit points, you want your max hits to also be sensible. Right now, if you look here, I have minus 44, well, against an Act 10 target, but let's go to an Act 5 one. It's still minus 14 chaos resistance. So I can only take a 3,000 damage max hit in chaos, whereas other types of damages, I can take much harder hits. So you want to also keep that in mind too, especially if you know the type of damage of a zone you're going to be in, that the max hit is also worth considering in your analysis. And one final pro tip when you're in the tree here, if you're wondering, like, where's my ascendancy skills? And you go here, I'm a berserker, right? Or I'm a elementalist. And you're like, how come I can't find it on the tree here? Like, where do I do that? It's outside the tree. Okay. So I never knew that right away when I first was using this, that it puts these ascendancies, your subtrees, in this area here. Okay. So that's how you do that. Anyways, that's kind of the overview of Path of Building. Hopefully some of the things I just did here might have taught you something. Just knowing it exists is a pretty big first step. But I wouldn't say go too heavily into it. I thought at level 6, 7 here, it was time to at least get it installed and get things synchronized so it's ready to go, so that when I really am planning my character seriously and doing level 90 plus content, I'm going to be able to have the tool just there and I can do some quick A/B testing. I don't have to think about it. One last thing, I want to just test one thing with my skeletons here that seem to stay alive. Oh, I guess I don't have to test it there because I just did it by accident. I want to see if I could bring them in and attack all the people, but they disappear. Oh well, I guess we'll have to make do with the limitations of these awesome item of the week boots. So without further ado, I'm going to go kill the Act 6, or not Act 6 boss. I'm going to go fight the Act 8 boss, and I'll see you there shortly. Okay, we're here near the Act 8 boss. We're going to defeat him soon, hopefully. My skills aren't quite perfect, and I don't know if these skeletons are working out. They're a little weaker than I thought. But anyways, this is kind of what I decided to spend my skill points on. I decided to branch this way because I like this skill with Marauder, this +2 to maximum all resistances. So this is a really nice one on this side of the tree. Is it the max DPS? Is it the max effective hit points? I don't know. Like it's gonna lead towards better stuff though further down the line. And everything here was really good. So that's kind of why I went with that. We can adjust it later. Again, I'm now just 68 in terms of a character level. So we'll see how that works out. This new skill I have, my gems aren't leveled up. I like the skill gem, but I wish it was max level. So I'm working on that. But before we go and fight the boss, I didn't have as much luck with heavy belts this week. I only found one. So only one chance at a mage blood, but we have 5 chances at a headhunter here with regular leather belts. So let's just see how that works out here. Nope. Let's see if we get one. Nice to get something unique, or even a good rare belt would be nice. Ooh, 40 life, that's a nice one. Oh, there we go. Speak of the devil. Okay, we'll think about that one for later. I don't know if that's quite ready to be used yet, but could be crafted, we'll see. Anyways, let's check out this boss fight. My chaos resists are below 0. My lightning resists about 30. I think this is like fire and ice though. So, you know, Solaris and Lunaris, I think I have 80% of each of those resists, so we'll see how that works. Oh my god. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive this. I've gone too long without putting some serious thought into my build. I don't even have my skeletons out. Oh my god, I gotta get them out. I gotta get out. There we go. See how that works? Oh, jeez, this does so much damage. It's unreal. If I stand in position, though, wow. I do a little bit more damage because I got this momentum support. I don't know if I like it. Again, I'm trying out new things, too. Let's do some spectral throw here. Oh, I don't have fireball equipped right now. Just couldn't quite get it in. Plus, I needed the skeletons. It was like one or the other. I can't do them all. I know it's the fireball. I know you all wanted it, but I have to change it up. I got to give spotlight to various other skills as well. Get everything sort of sorted here. Get my Vol Spectral Blade here. Do some shouts. Oh, I don't even have my Holy Relic out. Get this going. Stand and... Ooh. Come on, let's go here. Yay, we did it. Okay, I'm probably going to have to be a little bit more serious by the time we do the final boss. Anyways, I hope you found this informative. This wasn't much on the game itself here, but Path of Building is a really great tool. I thought it was worth a whole episode just to cover it and just at least make you aware of it so that later on, and we'll go over these pantheons in a future episode, but without it, it's kind of difficult to know what your best support gems are. It's hard to tell whether this boot or that boot is worth trying. And, you know, don't forget the copy paste of bringing items in and, you know, the basic things we went over in this video here. So hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you next week.